Okay, welcome everybody who's going to watch this. This is our conversations in the deep field. And we've done 5 of these so far. So I was just noting them. So the first one was experiencing the mysterious tremendum, which that was like my fave. And then we did our quantum becoming, then magic and miracles, then youthing and immortality. And the last one was on effortless abundance. Very cool stuff. We have great topics. So in this one, we're going to do the quantum field. And it's interesting because I just did a short live video for the Magical Maestros group, in which I was talking about why I believe consciousness, or the quantum field, as I would now call it, is essential to who we are and what we're becoming. And really, for me, I think it's now so inbuilt in me. Like at one point, consciousness or the field was all kind of like, for me, it was, you went out there, you went high to get it, and now it's all kind of immersed in everything, in the breath, in the being, in the creation, in all of it. It's all interwoven for me. And I see the quantum field as the playground of the creation of quantum possibilities, and how we've learned to play in that and become maestros in doing that, both individually and collectively, because I think we've created a whole new way of working in this collectively that's really extraordinary. So that's my kind of quick overview, and I'll just kind of turn it over to whoever wants to talk next. So just introduce yourself, say where you're from, and just talk about how do you see the quantum field, and anything else you want to add about it.
So I'll start. I'm Lynn from Oslo, Norway. And I think it started a couple of summers ago, in particular, that I remember that I really sensed myself as a field more than, it was like I could see how my consciousness was going ahead of me. It was kind of creating the reality. I mean, not that I haven't been aware of it in other ways, because I've worked with energies for many years and worked with collective fields and, transformed possibilities within fields of people, or like preparing myself before meeting a public and really bringing in the field and transforming the room. But it now feels to be much more effortless and more, it's like all I need to be worried about is whether I am hooked up or not. It's not so much whether I am doing this or that. I think that's the difference, maybe, that it's not so much, it's like just connecting. And then, yeah, let's start there and see if anybody else has anything to help. Yeah.
When I think about what the quantum field is to me today versus, as Lynn said a couple of years ago, oh, by the way, I'm Eliza Bloom Robinson, and I'm in Arkansas, US today. I say today because you never know where I'm going to be. But the quantum, a few years ago, I wrote an article actually for my seminary students, and teach for the Unity Seminary. And it was like, is the quantum God, or is God the quantum? And so for me, my beginning to play with the quantum was beginning to play with what we call divine mind, or infinite mind. And that's been many, many, many years ago. But in the last, I'd say as well, maybe 2 or 3 years, or maybe a little bit more than that, bringing that really conscious, it is the very field in which we live. And so I was explaining it actually just this week to another class, seminary class, about we live in in the reality or the relative world, but the quantum is really where we live. Like we experience the quantum. So, you know, there's a phrase that says be in the world, but not of it. But when we are in that quantum, and it is effortless and it is right here, it's not further out, is it comes almost from within. That's where all the magic is. That's where the effortlessness is. That's where the truth of our being is. And it has shifted and changed in my awareness as I've grown, I would say even maybe more comfortable in playing in that realm. But I think it is shifting anyway. I think somehow it's more accessible than it was certainly a decade ago. There's so much more, but I'm going to let other people speak too.
So I'm Mary from Cornwall in the UK. I think for me, what really struck a chord was when you said just now, Solera, about creating quantum possibility. And that's the magic of it for me. I think I've had sort of ebbing and flowing awareness of being in the quantum field at different times in my life and different phases, if you like. So I'm sure I knew all about that when I was born. When I was a small child, I think small children do. They're just in the moment, in the field all the time, aren't they? But that thought of creating quantum possibility is so exciting. It's that awareness that we can create the new, we can bring the new in, and I think that's more that's something we do particularly when we're in collaboration and community, doing this sort of work together. We do it individually too. We all bring our individual parts to that, but there's something there about the magic of coming together and doing this, and things simply like sharing this conversation, they've got a power to them that are different and beyond what each of us is bringing.
Hello, I'm Doriana in Tucson, Arizona, and my view of the quantum at the moment, I know a long time ago when that kind of terminology was first starting to get around, that quantum was like something happens here, then it's going to happen over there. And it was portrayed as kind of like a net that went everywhere, and you could go along those fibers. And if somebody was on the other side of the world and it was like your son or daughter, and you had a inkling, you had something that told you in your mind that you needed to talk to them, and then they'd call and things like that. So it was like, well, we're not just here and it's there, but there's some kind of a field that's out there. And then that kind of graduated into like we're in this soup, and we're all carrots and peas and bits of rice or whatever in this soup, but you stir it over here and it's going to make waves over here. And so we're all kind of part of this whole quantum area. And then it got into particles and how everything's made up of these little particles, and you can't really see them, except sometimes if you look up into the sky, I see little dancing white specks. And then those little specks are carrying information, and that information is being collected and made into codes and put into form. And so it's just progressing and progressing, and now we are the quantum, and we're just like a little carrot or a pea in the soup, but we're the whole soup, and that's the quantum for me.
Oh, my name's Santari. I live in Wales, Somerset, UK with Celera. It's interesting what we talk about when we give labels to things and trying to get to the real heart of something which sometimes seems very elusive. And so we talk about things in real general terms. And I think it's very good that we do. So we're not trying to pin something down and say, that's it. I mean, that's it. Could be everything. Could be everything, and could be everything you haven't even known about or thought about or imagined yet. So it's always like a changing goalpost or changing horizon when you talk about something like the quantum field. But, you know, like many other people, I've had ideas in the past, and that it was something that you connected with, and as you connected with it, you became whatever it was that you connected with. Maybe it's this idea of the whole of creation, of all of the universes, and can you connect with that? Well, yes, why not? Let's try it, let's do it. Let's see what experience we can have when we energetically do that, or do it in consciousness, or in some other way that we might consider to be doable. And really, it's everything that you can think of. It's all of creation. It's all the things that you haven't even got senses for yet. So in a way, we're talking about something which we know about, and also something we don't know about. And I think there is a paradox. That's the beauty of it. We're always going to come to a place where we go further and beyond what is our known limits of understanding at that moment in time. And suddenly everything starts to reshape itself because you've got a new something to think about, to consider, to work with, to employ, to put into your new structure of reality. So it's always a changing thing, to my mind, rather than a finite thing. But I think when you talk about something like a quantum field, people do have a general sense in some way of what that is. So when you say, let's connect to the quantum field, you know, people will not necessarily go into their head and think, how do we do that? They'll just close their eyes, go into a meditative state perhaps, look for some sensation or feeling or something that, that they would recognize, oh, that's it, that may be new to me. Let's just go with this for the moment. And then as the person who's leading this meditation, let's call it, starts to talk further and so talks about it in more expansive terms, then you suddenly start to feel actually the vibration is different because I'm now connecting with something far bigger than I first thought it was, or I'm being talked about a different perspective of connection and connectivity. And so therefore I'm getting more impressions and more information. And I think as we do that, it allows us to, you know, completely diverse ourselves from what we thought was true and stable and unshakable. And everything becomes very morphable and ethereal and full of potential and possibilities and what people might call magic. And so you go into this state of, oh, everything is just so beautiful. Can we be there all the time? The answer is, why not? What would stop you from being that? Just your thoughts that things are so, that you're a human being with things to do, you know, and you've got roles and responsibilities, and it's so hard, you know, trying to juggle all these things all the time, isn't it? Well, yes, if you believe that to be true. But in the quantum, everything is changing, and what you believe in one moment, erased, gone completely. You can't find it anymore. You can't find any of the terms of reference that you were working in to say, this is your reality. Your reality has shifted. It's shifting sands. And that is a wonderful thing when you're looking for transformation and change and something that goes far, far beyond what you thought was ever achievable, doable, or possible.
Beautifully
A few
said.
nodding heads. Thank you.
For me, the quantum field is all that isn't yet, that's waiting unformed to become real. And our role is as quantum activators, I would say, is to learn how to dance in that field, to breathe in that field, to pulse in that field, to bring those things that aren't yet into reality. And it's not just taking it from one place to the other, because it's not like, oh, here's existing consciousness and reality, and here's the quantum field, we'll just drop one. It's not occurred like that, I think, recently for us. It's more like it's just becoming more and more and more formed as a new version of reality. And that seems to have found a place to land in our lives. So I've been talking about us being living templates of new possibilities for life and living, you know, and it's like we're engineers and designers married with the infinite intelligence of the design system of the new universe kind of thing. It's a lot of words, but you get what I mean. We're learning a new art form of reality creation as quantum activators, and it is the quantum field, that unformed field of what's waiting yet unformed. And to me, that's just one of the most exciting things, I think, of my life so far, is to be able to play in that all together with us, you know.
I love that term, quantum activators. That feels so right on. And I think listening to everybody, what occurs to me, I'm probably restating what's already been stated, but almost the definition of the quantum is the unknown. As you said, Solera, the unformed. It's also like when I just think about the quantum, I move beyond my limited awareness, any limitation I may carry in my being or my subconscious or my world or whatever, move beyond that into the limitless. And I know infinite possibility, new possibility, that term has been used a few times, but it's like, it's just so expansive. I can go, oh, and expand my consciousness almost with the intention of moving into that which I don't know yet. Like that seems to almost be a pathway for me right now, which is just brilliant. And I'll echo what several of you have said, is the power of this group and the greater group that we play in is such a catalyst, such an activator. Because every time I come in, somebody says something, oh, I hadn't thought about that. And it just feels like it's just mind-blowing, limit-blowing in the best possible way. Ever expanding, so expansive in every way.
I think there's something there about not needing to know what you're moving into or moving towards. I think certainly for me, one time it was more about I needed to be able to see what it was I was going to go into and what it was going to bring, or have some idea of it anyway, almost as if I was too timid to step forward and go into that place. But now it's almost as if we can just dive in and find out what's there when we get there, which I think is the only way to do it in the world of the quantum field. It's all there and all possibilities are there, but until we go there, we don't know which one we're going to choose when we get there. And it's because it's all interconnected, we can always choose afresh every time we want to, and choose to see or feel or experience whatever it is that's happening. It's really hard to find ordinary words to express it for me. There's something about that excitement of simply diving in, or up or down or around, whichever way around it is. And it isn't out beyond, as you said again at the beginning, Solera. It feels like it isn't just out there somewhere in space any longer, wherever we used to see it. It's more about being right here, and it could be right here within my cells of my body, or it could be in the beautiful natural world around me, or in the wind that's blowing today, or the sun that's shining, or wherever it is. There's all those aspects to it which are all woven into the field.
To follow along with what you're saying, Mary. So for me, when we do this kind of quantum field consciousness work together as a collective, it's even more exciting to me that, yes, we come in and we don't know, but then to watch what comes through from each and every one and how that weaves so synergistically perfectly together into some big, like, as if we all knew or didn't know to begin. We were pieces of a massive puzzle going into, super creation together. And it just wows me every time, that beautiful synergy of our creation. And that's so different from how people do teams and creating in the world. It's like the best of everything is essential to the creation and gets fused into the creation as we do that. So yeah, beautiful.
So there's several things that's come up to me as you've been talking, and one of them is that I think for me the quantum is also about knowing that the outer world is all within me. So the more I am connected to that within, that again is reflected in the without, and of course then not being hung up on whatever has been, and be present, but that there also is a certain sense of co-creationness in that. I mean, there's this spark. It's like this chain reaction that happens, and I think that's what at least that's for me also part of it, is that by me having the direction towards something, then something comes back, and then that makes something more, and that makes it alive. So that's also, I mean, it's hard for me to describe what is the quantum field. I'm just trying to turn off my telephone here.
Somebody's trying to reach it. I was just thinking, out in the world, when people do stuff, there are issues of trust. We don't have that. It doesn't even exist in the possibility of our relationships and thinking and creation together. It's way past what would occur as trust. And it's not even because we've done this for a while. We could have somebody brand new come in and it would be the same. It's that you come into a state together, a state of being and creation together, in which everything is synchronous and harmonious and powerful and brilliant and magnificent. And it is that all together, each piece and the whole all together, when we create from the unformed into the form, into the reality, I just love it. It's like my favorite thing to do in the whole world, is to work in the quantum field and consciousness with all of you and the crew that we do it with. I think it's amazing to be able to do that. I would wish it for everybody, even though I know everybody isn't called to do that kind of work. I kind of wish they were, because the energy it gives you, the vitality, the relationships it gives you, the fulfillment of who you are in life that it gives you is just like amazing to me. So, yeah.
So someone recently said that spirit shows you on a need to know basis. And so I can see that in the past, things just occurred and there were things to work on or to look at, to have a choice of what you want to do with that, whether you want to clear it out or it's something that you want to add to this or that, and take a pathway here or there. And then what Mary was saying was that now we don't really know what's coming, but we're connected both interior into all of our cells. So these are kind of new connections that we are bringing forth and making bigger, bigger and better. And then those connections not only are within us, but the network goes out to our surroundings, our environment, and the planet, and then out into the cosmos. So it's a whole new perspective from, of course, we only can come from in here, but that's the quantum, the universe, the spirit, our divine is working through us, and in these bodies and minds we're grasping, starting to see that we are in this bigger picture that is quantum, and not just these little people walking around on the planet.
Yeah, I think it redesigns who we can be in life. It kind of remakes us even as a species, you could say, because that not knowing to me allows me to be in the infinite intelligence. And then I can get stuff rather than I know it, as Mary was saying, instead of knowing it as you start, because that's kind of coming from the existing consciousness, if you think you know. And but then when you come into the quantum field and you discover this formless newness waiting, but then you're not just like, oh, I surrender and whatever. You become something, you become sourceful or masterful or whatever, and you do know instantaneously what there is for you to do. It just happens as an instantaneous knowing when you let go of the existing consciousness. Yeah, and that redesigns us, I think.
That is so right on. And it's almost as if we think we know, we lock back into our conscious, and the quantum is so far beyond our conscious, especially our conscious mind or our subconscious mind, where so much of the planet lives from. You know, and that willingness, it's not even a willingness, because even when we do have new people come in, back to what you said about trust, it's instantaneous, because the field, like the word trust doesn't even exist there, because it is so new. And what we are doing in the so new is our evolving, our becomingness, individually but collectively. And yeah, I'm with you. I think we are really, we're changing, we're sourcing, we're becoming, but all those words are old in a new way for the whole world. It's my most favorite place to be too, is hanging out with you all and other groups I've got that play in the quantum, because it's just so brilliantly rich and fun and expansive and enlivening.
It's like when you talk about it, I think I really like living in the formless version of reality. It's not like, oh, I have to make it something quick. It does shape and take form, but even when it shapes and takes form, that doesn't lock it in. That's what we're all saying. There's nothing that has to stay as it is, even if it's something new coming in. And one of the things I think we've gotten really comfortable with is that constant adventure of the discovery of what's next and what's next. And when we embrace it, we seek it, we get exhilarated by it. So as a result, I don't think we have the kind of typical kind of mega shift symptoms that a lot of people have. I think we go through the process a little bit easier with a lot more fun. For sure, you know, that we're having fun with it rather than, you know, it knocks you about and you're kind of drag kicking and screaming into something new. But we're not like that. We're like leap together and play and discover and then see how that unfolds. And then if the next minute is something else, that's okay too. I love that.
Celera and I had a conversation a few days ago about how we see things. And I said to her that I'm not affected by the things that happen on the media, newspapers, videos, etc. I said I seem to take a more broader perspective. And I think that's it's important for me to do that, so I'm not caught up in any shenanigans that can quite easily happen to any individual. I say I don't see myself as an individual per se, as a human being per se. I see myself as this force of creation. And by knowing myself and calling myself, thinking of myself as a force of creation is a liberation, because I'm no longer contained in any way whatsoever. So therefore, I can just be looking out at the scenery from my window here, and I'm not thinking about anything at all. Nothing goes through the head. That is a thought that I can look at and pin down and say, that's where I am. That's what I'm doing. I seems to be everywhere in some sort of amazing way and doing everything. And I think that really, for me, is what the quantum is. You're not pinned down to a body. You're not pinned down to a aspect of life that defines you in very regimented and logical ways and say, this is what you were born into, and therefore you are now living this particular version of life, reality, and it's unchanging. We've seen vast changes in the past 2 to 3 decades. And I'd say at the moment, it's not everybody's experience to be vast and expansive and to completely let go of any ego-centered sense of self. But once you do find that that sense of self is no longer a dominant force in your life, governing your life, you suddenly realize that you have a greater degree of freedom than you ever considered was something that could be possible. And it's not like you walk into it by degrees. It just, somehow you just, oh my God, something's changed, radically different, amazingly so. I don't know how it happened, but I feel that I'm no longer who I was 6 months ago, yesterday. And it is a fairy tale that's unfolding. It's an amazing fairy tale. Only good things are happening in this fairy tale, right? Amazing things, wondrous things. There are no tragedies. Tragedies aren't a word or a label that in any way gets to pin on this amazingly blank surface, which is somehow being populated every day by new and varied experiences. And how you respond to those experiences, of course, tells you something about the mechanisms of who you're going to be next. And being in this very moment, if you hang on to tragedies and they dominate your life for years, then you have missed out an amazing opportunity, which I think is just here, absolutely right there for people, to let go of who you thought you were and rename yourself and be reborn and give yourself something new to look at, something new to really work on, something that really fuels you every day and gives you that sense of, I'm living for this now. And everything else was great before, but now I got something else that I'm really loving. And I think that when you get into that stride, that cycle of living, then everything else just goes, wasn't worth thinking about.
I think one of the things too that comes off of what Santari was just saying is there is, even though there's no identification with self for me too, it's like, I don't care. There's bigger stuff to be interested in, but there is in each one of us something that allows us to be uniquely as a creator in the field. And whether that's essence, whether that's what we were sent as from source to do, you know, whatever it is, there is something that guides us from the deep inner. And then there's this letting go and becoming and becoming and becoming. But this, what runs through us seems to allow us to each be unique and bring something totally awesomely unique to the creation in the quantum field. And that, I love that. We would never want to be homogenous. That just wouldn't work for me at all. So, yeah. Anybody else want to share anything? Okay, let's just wrap it up with just kind of a last thought from each of you about if you were going to say to people about working in the quantum field themselves, why would they want to do that? Or how might they get to that? And just each of us just offer our way into that. So anybody want to kick that off?
Hey, that's a big thought. Perfect way to wrap up our time together. So why would you want to play in the quantum? Well, number one, it's fun. And number two, it's expansive. And number three, it is the new way of being. How do you get there? It's like you just have to drop out of your thought about who you are and what this world is. You just like drop into this expanded space. All of us are here to help you individually, collectively. You've just, every time you get out of your head, really, and your thought and your routine and your yada, 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 whatever's going on, you can access the portal to the quantum. It's not out anywhere. You don't have to do a lot of training. You just land in it, just by grace, by willingness, by design, by stumbling. And when you do, and you just go, then you begin to train yourself to go there more and more and more often. And the more often you go there, the easier it is. And you discover it is within. It's already here. And then you discover how fun it is and how light it is and how, like Santari said, there's no trauma or drama in the quantum. It's so amazing. And the more we do that, the more we change our whole world.
You said that so beautifully. Does anybody else want to add to that? Lynn, go for it.
Yeah, one word that comes to me is curiosity. It's like how, when we get into the drama or whatever we get into, if we could just back off a second and just be curious, like, what is the universe trying to show me or create right now? And can I just back off and witness it rather than interact in my usual ways? And I think that is such a, like, I remember somebody telling me that a long time ago, like, what is God wanting to create for you now? That's one way of saying it, but it's sort of like, and I think also go, let the joy be your magnet. Try and find ways of making reality joyful, just in small ways, and letting that, remember things that are joyful and lifting, because I think we need to sort of be lifted up within. I think that's what we do when we connect. It's like connecting to our hearts, to our joy, to whatever sparks that, whether it's a grandchild or a child or a flower or a pet or whatever. Yeah. But curiosity. And use children as a look. They're just, they're magnificent at it. They know exactly what to do.
So all of the above, of course, is perfect. We come into the world and we live in a small crib at first, and then in our house, and then eventually we go out to the yard and then to the store, and our horizons keep expanding into going downtown and then going to see grandma and whatever. And then we start going to school, and then we go to another state, we take a vacation, and then we go out and we get through school and we go to have some job, or we collect some kind of being entrepreneurs or whatever to use our skills. And then we learn to travel all over and seek new adventures. And then we get a telescope out and look at the stars. And so life has ever been expanding in this consciousness. And now we're being open into this portal of everything, of the cosmos, and how the cosmos is really within us, and we can have the experience of being these creatures that are limitless and open to all this joy and bliss that is being presented. And what a great adventure it is to be going forth in this quantum field that we're in, with all these other people that we're now connecting with in this net, and it's in this soup. The soup is getting tastier and tastier. New ingredients coming in.
I'm just laughing at everybody's beautiful ways of expressing it. It's really hard to find one thing else to say. But I think following on from everybody else's, it's just choosing what's most delightful and delicious to do next, in terms of adding ingredients or exploring and having an adventure, or enjoying life and letting go of the feeling that it all has to be hard and it all has to be difficult, because it's actually that's what's holding us back. It's just those expectations, rather than just seeing everything as a choice and as expressing the joy that's already there within us, as children do again. And it's just that delicious soup and that delight of doing whatever comes next in the new and exploring those adventures.
Listening to soup, I'm reminded of how you make chicken soup, which is to boil the chicken until it's almost tasteless. So what I think my takeaway from all of this is how to get to where it is we're talking about. You need to interrupt your thoughts. You need to stop thinking that you're doing something in the world that's small and insignificant and that is already pre-planned. You've got to stop all that sort of nonsense of thinking and look at the world as something that's an amazing creation. And you're here to exemplify something absolutely fantastical that's never been done before. And you don't know what it is. That's what we're saying. You do not know at this moment in time what it is that you're capable of achieving, creating, doing, etc., etc. The only way you're going to find out is to stop giving your energy to anything else and to ask questions about what it is that's coming from you right now, from the very center of you, from the very center of the universe of you. And as Lynn said, be curious, want to find out, ask questions that go deeper and deeper and deeper. It's like being Alice in Wonderland, going down that rabbit hole, and you don't know what you're going to find down there, but you know it's going to be something like Wonderland. And with only perhaps that thought in mind, you pursue Wonderland. And your life will change and it will become Wonderland. It will become whatever you really want it to be entirely. But you need to shift the focus away from what you think the world is all about doom, tragedy, apocalypse, etc. Anything else like that. You changed all of it completely, fundamentally, on a click of a finger. You've got to be Dorothy clicking your shoes, knowing that you can create magical, amazing outcomes for yourself. And you then, knowing that is a truth inside you, you ask to see what else is there. What else are you capable of achieving? What is this amazing gift and quality of life that you've been perhaps harboring and nurturing and concealing from yourself until this very moment when it is ready to emerge? So you say, it's ready to emerge now. I can't wait any longer. The whole of the world can't wait anymore. The universe can't wait anymore. I'm here, and I'm the quantum field. And I've got something to say. So start investigating what that is.
Yay. I love it. I think just for me, people have epiphanies. And when they have an epiphany, I think it opens the door to discover that there is some otherness in life that is what we would deem magical or mysterious or synchronous, or, you know, we could use a whole bunch of words, but it's that doorway into what we're calling the quantum field. And what happens when you dwell in and as it is that otherness of life becomes your reality instantly. I think Eliza, you said that. It's just like, it's just automatic. There you are, poof. And so it's kind of just being willing to, as Lynn said, be curious. We're all saying it in different ways, but just be in the awe and wonder of that there is a way of being in life that you don't know yet, that is so breathtaking and that can just fulfill everything in a new and glorious way. And then you just get excited. And once you're excited, you're there. Because it raises your frequency and it puts you into the space of then you dwell in that reality. And yes, people can drop in and out, although I don't think many of us do anymore. I don't drop in and out anymore. I am that, just as Centaurs. I am the quantum field in motion, you know, birthing newness all the time and making that a living reality for us all. And it's so fulfilling. Oh my God, like I could go, if I needed to go tomorrow, I could go and go, yes. But I don't intend to go tomorrow. I got lots more to do with all of you. And I'm excited about that. So a big thank you to everybody who will watch this, and a big thank you to all of you for this fabulous conversation. I absolutely love it. So, okay, lots of love, everybody.